It's no secret that Erik Ten Hag's job as Manchester United manager is at risk. Had he not stunned Manchester City in last year's FA Cup final, he might have been dismissed in the summer. But should United get rid of him now, or do they need to give him more time? United have been pretty awful. They've made their worst ever start to a Premier League season despite bringing in several new signings in the summer. But who do you replace him with? Thomas Tuchel was a target, but he's taken the England job. I can't see any top-level managers being open to that move, or even available for it right now. Manchester United have struggled with managers since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson, which was to be expected given the exceptional levels he'd set at the club. The job was too big for David Moyes, but since the arrival of Louis van Gaal in 2014, there's been a bit of a pattern happening with managers at United, which I'll get to shortly. Van Gaal got United back into the Champions League in his first season, then missed out but lifted the FA Cup in his second. That wasn't enough for the United board though, who replaced him by Jose Mourinho just days after lifting the FA Cup trophy. Jose, as expected, made an immediate impression at the club, winning the Community Shield, League Cup and Europa League in his first season. And in his second, he finished second in the league behind Manchester City, although the gap between them was 19 points, as City picked up a record 100. Mourinho was sacked the following season, being replaced by interim manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who would eventually get the role on a permanent basis. He was in charge for one full season, which was trophyless, before being replaced midway through the following season by Ralf Rangnick, who had agreed to take the role until the end of the season. And that's where Erik Ten Hag came along. Announced in April 2022, he came into the role ahead of the 2022-23 season and won his first silverware, the League Cup, in February. He qualified for the Champions League, though that was a disastrous campaign, and as I mentioned earlier, won the FA Cup in May. So what's the pattern? Well, since Louis van Gaal, and more so since Jose Mourinho, there seems to be a rather large issue with the players. Not all of them, but the core of the United squad and their culture. The players seem to have too much power at the club, and the desire to win that Sir Alex installed into the players has faded away in favour of money and fame. And there are tantrums and issues amongst the players when managers call for the best out of them, or simply dare to make changes that they don't agree with. The players under Sir Alex gave everything just to wear the shirt, and they knew they'd be out the door immediately if they didn't buy into what the manager wanted. Even club legends Roy Keane and David Beckham were outed once the integrity at the club was at risk. Keane was famously let go after publicly criticising his teammates, and Beckham was sold after a fallout with Sir Alex. Though with him chasing fame, he might have been sold to Real Madrid that year either way. These days, from an outsider looking in, it seems the players feel like they're untouchable. They get fed up with the manager, and that's okay. We just underperform and get him sacked. It feels like the players are bigger than the club at this point, and that's the sort of culture United need to stamp out if they're to become that powerful force in England again. Erik Ten Hag is the sort of manager that Manchester United need to be patient with. I rate him, despite his team's abysmal performances in the league this season. Are the board just not giving him the freedom to remove some of the more troublesome players in the squad? If Jose Mourinho, one of the best managers in the world, can't sort out the problems at United, how can you expect a lesser manager to do so unless he's given full control by the board? So should United sack Ten Hag, who do they bring in to replace him? And how do we know the players won't just give up again when things don't go the way they want them to? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think it's a big mistake to sack Ten Hag, and I think the pattern will just repeat itself again if they do so, but I want to know what you think. Is the manager the problem, or are his players more interested in the money and fame than Manchester United itself? Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and why not check out my video about Thomas Tuchel and his new role in the England setup. Thanks for watching.
And we're just moments away from kick-off time here at the Theatre of Dreams. I'm Derek Ray, and joining me to provide expert analysis is Stuart Robson.